Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good morning. Making sure that the stream is working fine. Hey, BL, how are you doing? Hey, Kwabi. Hey, Jambi, good morning. How is everyone? Happy post 4th of July. I hope you guys in the US enjoyed the fireworks. I'm sure it would have been fantastic. Super choppy markets today as well. Again, BL, you know the drill. Stealing BL's line right now. Hey Rico, how are you doing? Good to have you joining us. Welcome to the group on Discord as well. 2 minutes and we shall get started. Haven't had any trades at all this morning, now early afternoon. Might not have a lot coming up, but we'll see. If you did jump into any trades today, do let me know, put it into the chat. And again, while we're giving that 1 minute more, if you can help me out, click that like button, that thumbs up button on YouTube, that little rocket ship button on TradingView. Do subscribe, do follow, helps us get more people onto the call, onto this daily market analysis. The link is there. If you haven't already, do join the Discord channel. It is free, absolutely free to join. Good morning, Goju. How are you doing? Are we on the pound yen? We'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at that shortly. Hi, Felipe from Roma. It is very slow markets. Terribly slow. I've been sitting here watching it. It looks like we're waiting for paint to dry, for the grass to grow. But I'm sure that as markets slow down, it is possibly priming towards bigger moves. So we'll look for that. We'll get ready for that. How's Rome at this time of the year? Alrighty, so let's get started. Again, thank you all for joining me on this daily market analysis. For all the newcomers, for everyone who's new to the session, watching for the first time or the first couple of times, do drop a message. Let me know where are you joining me from. Say hi. Let me know where you're joining me from. And for all the regulars, a big welcome back. Thank you for making your time on this afternoon or morning or evening joining me, just giving you the snapshot view of where I see the market in terms of the fundamentals, in terms of the technicals, combine that together, looking for some possible trade setups. Okay, so I've been doing this daily market analysis free streamed to you guys 3 p.m. GMT plus 8 almost every day now. Do help me out, click that like and subscribe button on whichever platform that you're following me or watching this on. And if you haven't already, the Discord link is there. Do make sure you join the Discord channel. That's where we can take our discussions beyond this 1 hour session. Through the day, if I see anything interesting, any breaking news, any possible setups that I'm looking at, I'll be sharing that with you. It is a rapidly growing community. We do have a lot of members there also sharing their views and their trade setups as well. So trading doesn't have to be lonely. You don't have to do it alone. We do have a community there ready to support you through your whole trading journey. With that said, a quick disclaimer, any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material. The contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product, so please do your own due diligence. Your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. At any point in time, if you do have any trading related questions, do put it into the chat. Let me know. I'll be happy to help you through that. Any particular pairs you'd like me to look at, I'll be sharing. I'll be happy to share with you my points of view as well. And with that, good morning, Joshua. How are you doing? So let's get started. Let's keep going. What has happened yesterday? Nothing much, right? Well, nothing super, because we did have the US on a bank holiday, 4th of July, Independence Day. I do know a couple of you who were watching the fireworks, sharing me views of the beach and how the place looks. So hope you had a good break. With that, we actually did see, zooming in a little bit, this is the dollar index from yesterday. We were looking for it to test up before trading back down. It did that briefly. So it tested that crossover between the trend lines and then came back down. Right now, pushing back up. But still, that upward trend line now looking like it's presenting some resistance and pushing prices to the downside. But more about that shortly. Back to this. Okay, for today, what we've had was a whole bunch of news, but they didn't move prices, or they're not going to move prices too much, I don't think. The Chinese Caixin Services PMI came in from 57.1, expected a small drop to 56.2, came out at a 53.9. Typically, this does have an impact on the Aussie dollar because the Chinese economy does trade with the Aussies quite a bit, but on the services front, not as much as the manufacturing PMI. So in this case, we didn't see too much of an impact on the Aussie dollar. We do have the Spanish, Italian, French, German services PMI to be released. You can see Italian, Spanish coming out in 6 minutes from a 56.7 to a 55.8, about there. Italian 54 to 53. French staying at 48, German at 54. Overall, the Euro final services PMI staying likely to stay at that 52.4 level, while the pound or the UK final services PMI to stay at 53.7. So I'm not looking at any big surprises to come here to be released in terms of the data for the PMI. What we do have through the day is the OPEC meetings. We haven't seen any headlines being released. Again, also not anticipating too much of a surprise. But one of the things that we're looking at to possibly cause a breakout or to reignite this quiet market that we're seeing right now is the FOMC meeting minutes, right? FOMC meeting minutes. At this point, we're looking for hints of whether the FOMC meeting minutes is going to um, indicate possible further rate increases to come from the FOMC into the next few meetings. There is speculation that the Feds could continue to hike rates, maybe a bit slower, but still continue along that path. So that's going to be quite interesting at 2 a.m. GMT plus 8 on Thursday morning. Might be middle of the day for you guys, so just watch out for that. And why I say that, as much as it's quiet now, you might want to be taking a short break in terms of your trades, because the volatility, I'm pretty sure, will come back towards the end of the week, with the ADP non-farm employment change number to be released. It was 278K, expected 226. I'll tell you more about that tomorrow. And also the non-farm employment change numbers for the US to be released on Friday. So, with the quiet markets yesterday, like I said, with the quiet markets yesterday, with the possibly quiet markets today, I think that it might be an opportunity to take a breather, getting ready, getting positioned for the volatility to come back onto Thursday and especially on Friday. Okay, so not much to highlight here in terms of the fundamentals front. There is two headlines that I would like to pay attention to. Is, where was it? That one. The US yen stuck in a rut at sub 145 as intervention risk lingers. So remember yesterday we were talking about watching out for what's going to happen at 145. We're looking at positioning our trade for 145 intervention. That still is a thing to consider. And then one more was, where was it? Lost that headliner. Oh, buy euro, that one. Buy euro to target of 1.12. So looking like we might, markets or Noruma in this case, looking like they're expecting some further upside on the euro dollar, which could mean that we'll see some weakness on the dollar index, given that the euro is a big portion or contributes to a big portion of the dollar index. Okay, so apart from that, let's look at the charts. Good morning, Angel Case. How are you doing? Hi, Robbie. Good to see you, Jordan. And you're most welcome there, Felipe. And hi, Tuan. How are you doing? Okay, so now looking at the dollar index. Yesterday, we were looking to say, so this is not the 4th anymore. This is the 5th of July now. We were looking for the dollar index to weaken slightly, to consolidate along this 102.80 level. I would still hold that same view. Right now, the dollar index is at 103. It's sitting right at that 103 price level. Looks like now that this has broken, right? This was all the way to there, but now that it's broken, can take that brief downward trend line away. And given that, so that upward trend line held quite nicely until that it's broken. Now it's providing that resistance that I was sharing with you. I'm looking for the dollar index to trade down to 102.80, possibly all the way to the FOMC meeting minutes tonight or early tomorrow morning. Once it gets there, I hope it gets there, then possibly looking for it to break to the downside, right? Looking for it to break to the downside and towards that 102.40 level. I'm looking a bit differently. I think you'll come down there, then break down. Okay. Why I think it's going to break down, it is the meeting minutes that we're looking at, possibly looking for hints of further rate hikes from the Feds, but most likely going to disappoint markets with no hints. They're likely to continue saying that inflation growth is still higher than its target level. They will possibly be looking at further rate hikes, but it's all going to be data dependent depending on how the economy evolves and inflation slowdown evolves. So I think that it's going to come down to this point, and then with no further hints of a rate hike in the meeting minutes, we could see it drop down to that 102.40. So anticipating some weakness on the dollar index, right? Could weaken slightly to and consolidate at 102.80. Watch FOMC minutes for more downside. All right. So that's what I'm looking for here on the dollar index for that downward push. And given that we're expecting the dollar index to weaken, that might mean that across the board, we might be looking at some rebound or some continuation to the upside. Hi, Arif, how are you doing? Hey, Crypto Riddler, good to see you. So with that said, we were looking at the Kiwi dollar. So yesterday at that point, I was saying, hey, Kiwi dollar looks like it's going to climb up to that 0.62 level from that previous high and consolidate. If it does have a break to the downside, we could look to sell it down. But now, given that that didn't trigger, but now given that we're anticipating that the dollar index could weaken further, I'll keep this, drag this up, look at that. Yeah, okay. So that kind of works, that channel works this way. Just channel works at a previous high. What I would say is that on the Kiwi dollar, if the dollar index does continue to weaken, I'll be looking at it to break above 0.62. So maybe even a 0.6210, 30 pip take profit, tight stop loss at 20 pips. I would say 0.6205. 20 pip stop loss, almost a 40 pip take profit to the upside. What you do want is wait for the candle to close above this point before getting into a trade. So 6205, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the upside for the Kiwi dollar. The sell did not happen yesterday. So we're looking to buy 0.6205, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the upside. Okay. So I'm not trading live right now. We're looking for some trade setups. So not looking at any live. I'm trading live, but not looking at any entry at this point. Possibly just looking for the setup. If it does trigger, then we could get into a trade. Typically, I do share any trades I get into in the Discord channel, especially if it's not as time sensitive. Okay, the Aussie dollar, we saw this move down was because of the rate hike. The no rate hike from the RBA. No surprise rate hike from the RBA. Saw the Aussie dollar drop down to 0.6645. Then it rebounded back up. Right, rebounded back up. We were looking for this to continue towards that 6755 level. It went up slightly before retracing back down. This trade I did not get. I wasn't watching it at that time. But if you did get into that trade, fortunately, you would have hit your stop loss. Right now, I would be anticipating a similar move, right? So we do have this trending to the upside. It did break a little bit. We do have the upward trend line supporting it, anticipating that dollar weakness to come into play. What you could be looking for here on the Aussie dollar will be to buy it up, say above yesterday's high, 6705. Take profit, again 50 pips to the upside. Stop loss 25 would be reasonable. I would say that you could even go to 20 pips. I just want that 0.67 level. Actually, correct that. I would say that let's be extra safe and say 30 pips. So 30 pips stop loss, 50 pip take profit, anticipating that dollar strength, the dollar weakness to continue. Could this test and turn down? It could do that, but that would mean that we'll see the dollar test back up again. I think Aussie dollar does have a chance. So if it does test, then you would see that it's not a head and shoulder pattern. I wouldn't say it's a head and shoulder pattern. I would say that what could happen might not trigger a trade and then turn back down this way. But if it does break above yesterday's high, then we could be looking for further upside on the Aussie dollar. Right, so it breaks above yesterday's high, we could see that push. Think that the high from Tuesday last week at 671 or 6720 could provide some resistance, but I think that it might be brief. We'll revisit the Aussie dollar maybe later into the session. I just want to see how this candle develops, but I do think we could see the upside push. So 6705, stop loss 30, take profit 50. We'll revisit this later on. There we go. All right. Then, from the way the dollar closed last week, should still expect more bullish moves. I think that we could see it come down and then push back up again. Right? I do see a short-term bear before that bullish push back up. So would we take the sell if it closes below the trend lines on the Aussie dollar? Yes, I would wait on this. I'll come back to the Aussie dollar just because it is right on that trend line, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how it develops. The US yen, I'm going to maintain this view, right? I'm going to maintain this view. You can be looking for this to come up to that 145 level, looking for it to reject and trade back down. But given that the dollar index is pushing to the downside or looking like it's going to push to the downside, what we're likely to see is the yen push back down as well. Okay, so I'm going to move this right across as a longer term view because we're looking for it to test and reject 145 as an intervention level. I see any downside. The yen can continue moving up even if the dollar does weaken. Right, I see this coming down. Right now, I wouldn't be looking to sell. Right, even if it does trade to the downside, I think that we could be looking for it to come down, test and bounce back up. Then I'll be looking for that selling opportunity on the yen. Hey Buba, how you doing? Right, so it might come down, test that trend line, might break a little bit, tempt you, really tempting you to sell the yen down, but it is right in the middle of that support and resistance level. I would very much prefer for it to come down, bounce, test 145 and look to sell down. So that would maintain the view of sell at 144.90, rejection of 145, stop loss 20, take profit 100, or positioning for a possible intervention from the Bank of Japan at that 145 level. Alrighty. Hey, Stromika, how are you doing? Although the dollar is weak, the yen is still weaker. Yes, I agree with that. It is just on the short term, we might see this push down because of the dollar index. Then looking at the pound dollar, right? Yesterday we were talking about pound dollar consolidating at that 1.27 level, looking for a breakout potential. Like I was telling you guys, we were waiting for a breakout, but there were several levels that it needed to break out strongly of. Firstly, 1.27, and then that previous high at about 1.2730. It broke out slightly before coming back in. Okay, but that would not have triggered a trade. But with the way that it's broken out of that previous consolidation, testing higher, retracing, I'm a little bit more confident now looking at the pound dollar, thinking or anticipating that it could trade to the upside. Right, as I said, it could trade to the upside. It retraces, but upside of, why do I have this line here? 1.2770, because of this points here, I would say that you could even be targeting 1.2790, which is that previous high. Okay, so if the dollar does weaken, you could be looking to buy the pound dollar to the upside, 1.2740 above yesterday's high, 50 pip to the upside. I would say that because of the way the pound dollar is moving, you want to keep your stop loss very tight, maybe 25 pips, right? Because it could just test and bounce back. Okay, so what you'll be looking at here on the pound dollar is for it to push up, break above that whole area, right? The previous high and the previous high. So if it breaks above those two levels, which is the area here, then we'll be looking to buy it up to the upside. You can keep your stop loss at about 20 pips, take profit about 50, looking for the test of about that 1.28 resistance area. Hey Patrick, I'm doing well. How are you? Okay, so pound dollar, we're looking for it to buy above 1.27, what was it? 40, stop loss 20, take profit 50. 2740, stop loss 20, take profit 50 to the upside. There we go. I feel some uncertainty in the pound dollar, wait for momentum. Yes, I would agree on that, and that's why we're looking at it at the entry at a little bit higher, just looking for that momentum to push to the upside. Looking at the way the pound dollar is retracing, I would say the Aussie looks like it's retracing. What I would suggest here is we were looking for the TV dollar to push up So you might have a different scenario here, right? Kiwi dollar might test, push up. That's on dollar weakness. Then we could be positioning ourselves here if we do see that dollar strength come back into play. Then what you'll be looking for is a break of the trend line. So remember, in this case, you don't want to be doing both Aussie and Kiwi dollar. You want to make sure that you only do either of one based on that dollar strength or dollar weakness. I would say if it breaks that trend line, test this, which would be about 23.6 level, breaking down, you could be looking for it to trade down 6670, take profit 30 pips, stop loss tight at about 15 to 20 pips, breaking that trend line down to that previous low. I don't think it's going to go all the way, so this might be a scenario either the Kiwi or the Aussie dollar. Let's change that for our Aussie dollar. We're looking to sell 0.6670, stop loss 15, take profit 30. Profit 30, that's on DXY strength. That away, and then that would be on DXY weakness. So either way, hey, we look like we might have a possible setup that in, regardless of how the dollar index performs. That one I would still hold that view. Pound dollar, I would still hold that view. I wouldn't be very comfortable selling it down at this point. If we were looking to sell the dollar into the dollar strength, then I think they will come on the euro dollar, right? Euro dollar, we were looking in that consolidation for it to break out to the downside. It did not drop that 40 pips. In fact, it only came down to about 30 pips before rebounding back up. Now, I'll drag this box right across and say that if just check my trend line as well. That way, put this right across, right? If the euro dollar tests like that, test this resistance again at 1.09. We could, and if it fails to break, we could be looking at that downside back down, very similar to what we saw. But remember reading the report or the headline, anticipating that euro dollar to push up. Think that even if you did sell, and we saw this yesterday, even if you did sell the euro dollar down, the previous low was only about 30 pips, right? So, and even at the maximum, you're looking at a 50 pip move. I think that maybe we could be positioning ourselves to break that trend line, to break that resistance, and also to break that area. So a high move, a big move potential could be on the euro dollar, 1.0920, stop loss 30 pips, take profit. You could go to even 80 pips to the upside if we see that dollar weakness come into play. So in fact, I would say maybe to be a bit safer, 1.0925, stop loss 30, take profit 75 to the upside there on the euro dollar. The Mozzie just asked what's my favorite potential setup. I think that the euro dollar might be one that I rank quite highly at this point in time. Okay, especially for it to, fake break, consolidate, fake break, and potentially push to the upside. So we're looking to buy euro dollar 1.0925, 30 pip stop, 75 pip take 1.0925, right? Yep, 30.75. 30, take profit 75. There we go. What do you guys think about the euro dollar, about this setup? Rank it. 1, you like it. 2, you don't really care. 3, you hate it. It's a counter trend move. It's a bit of a counter trend move. So it's a little bit risky, but it does break a couple of levels, a couple of confluence of levels. So if it does break that, we could see a big push to the upside. Put it into the chat. 1, you love it. 2, you don't really care. 3, you hate it. You think that it's going to reverse at a resistance back down. Thanks, Felipe. Let me know. Put it in. Mozzie says 2, 2. A couple of you don't really care. I think that it's going to consolidate along this level. Could well be the case as well. But I'm looking for this push. Okay. So as we looked at the yen pushing to the downside and the pound dollar possibly pushing back up, then looking at the pound yen, right? We had Huabi asking about the pound yen. Think that if the pound dollar does push to the upside, then we could see, right? It's tested this level of 183, almost 184. So it tested 184, had a big retrace. I think that at this case, we could see another push to the upside, a continuation to the upside on the pound yen. I don't think you'll get to 185 from 184. Looks like quite a big move. But I do know that in the middle of this levels, there's not a lot of candles. Right, so we're at that point right now. Could get to 180. We're there right now. Could get up to 185. Possible. Right, we do need to see a lot of pound strength to push this further. But what you could be looking for, I think this has a dual opportunity here. Right, pound yen right at that level where we've seen it test and turn down over the last 3 times. If it does break this trend line, we could see it come down to that 183 support level again. Okay, if not, if it closes above, then you could be looking at 184.1, even 184.20. You'll be looking at 115 pips to the upside, stop loss, maybe about 50 pips or 1 to 2 to the upside. But you could be looking to close up at about 185. You don't have to hold it all the way to take profit. The dragon to 185. I do think that it could get to 185 eventually. I'm not sure whether it will get there today, or maybe even tomorrow. Right? Just that the pound strength, pound really needs to get to that 1.2, almost at 1.28 region to drag the pound yen up. So just looking for that. Okay, when do you usually take your setups? So the setups are all there. I'll look to get into the trade if the price gets to that level and closes at or above the levels that we're indicating here. All right, good question. Fair question there, Mozi, and welcome. Good to have you with us. Yeah, so Crypto Riddler is saying that pound yen to 185. Agree with that. Not a rush. I don't think it's going to get there today, tomorrow, or the day after. But I do think it'll get to 185. And then at 185, we're possibly going to see some massive moves from that point. Most likely a correction. Okay, then looking at the euro dollar pushing up, pushing to the upside, then euro yen as well. Looking for it. It's right in the middle again, but I'm looking for it to test, trade up, and test that 158 level. Not as much anticipation on the euro dollar compared to the pound. Not as much anticipation on the euro yen compared to the pound yen, but because it's just held that many times or that 2 times, I think that we might see it hold at this level. More expectation on the pound yen. Then looking to the Swiss, did not go as high as we thought before turning back down. Right now, it's really dragging to the downside. It went as high as 0.8935 day or at the start of this hour, and it's gone back down to 8964 right now, dragged down because of the way the dollar index is moving. So as usual, I think that you all know I don't like squeezy too much. I think that what is going to happen here is going to trade down. We do have a level at about 8945, which is quite close. And then after that, the big support at 0.89. Okay, so I wouldn't be too keen on the Swiss franc, US Swiss franc right now, unless it breaks below 8940. Then you see there's only a 30 pip take profit there. Stop loss will be very tight, no more than 15 pips to the downside. Even 15 is very generous to look for the US Swiss franc to trade down. It is going to be primarily driven by the potential weakness on the dollar index. Okay, so 8940, stop loss 15, take profit 30. Not super keen either. Sell below 0.8940, stop loss 15, take profit 30. Alrighty. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that. Okay, so with that, then take a while to play out as well. Onto the US CAD. Okay, US CAD, I'll go for the flip side scenario. So we've been looking at a lot of anticipation for that dollar, weakness to come into play. A dollar weakness would mean that the US CAD should pull to the downside. It is approaching that resistance of 1.3250. Hey Karan, how are you doing? So I think that what could happen at this point is for, hang on a second. What I think could happen here is for this to break to the upside. Not a big move, right? I would say sit there, watch the US CAD or the loonie trade up to that 1.3280 before looking to sell down. Right, big resistance or near-term resistance provided there over the last couple of candles. So if it does test and sell down, then you could be looking to sell 1.3270. Stop loss 20 pips. I wouldn't If it breaks through, I would forego this level a little bit and say that we could even be looking at a 30 pip move to the downside, right? So what we're looking at is might slowly trade up to that resistance level, right? Near-term resistance level. Then later on tonight, with the FOMC meeting minutes being released, we might see this push back down, dollar weakness, bringing it back down to that 1.32 round number level. Okay, this is all broken, so we take that away. So 1.3270, stop loss 20, take profit 60, makes sense. So 1.3270, stop loss 20, take profit 60 to the downside. Okay. All good. Kiwi dollar is retracing, looking for it to bounce off of that trend line. Aussie dollar sitting right there, right on that trend line, looking for a possible sell to the downside if the dollar bounces back up. US yen, right to that trend line. Don't rush. Don't think that it's going to drop. Don't rush into a sell. I'm looking for that bounce. Pound dollar holding, but we might see this slowly gravitate to the upside. Euro dollar tested, retrace, might still continue up. Swiss franc cooling down. Euro PMI coming in weaker. I think it's going to be brief, right? It's coming in weaker, but I think that this is going to cause a little bit of a pullback. But I think overall, if the dollar index does push down, then we could see this trend continue on the euro. Might be a bit of a waiting game. So not a trade for this hour, possibly not even a trade for the next hour, but if the dollar index does, well, it's retracing quite strongly now, but if it does continue to the downside, then we could be looking for that push later on in the session. In fact, what might even happen here is that if on the other scenario, it could do that. But overall, I'm still hold all my analysis. I'm still looking for that downside on the dollar index. Then on to the lucky last, gold. Right, we see dollar weakening causing gold to push to the upside over the last hour. It tested this point at 1922, bouncing back up. Yesterday we were talking about this trading up to 1934 before some retracement, right? So 1934 is about up there. Retracements, so that retracement has happened. It is pushing back up right now at 1926. I would hold that same view. It could get to 1934, but without that line of a retracement, because we've just seen that retracement over the last, well, from yesterday all the way down, now bouncing back up from 1921. Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much. Okay, so with all that said, the link is there again for you guys. Do make sure you join the Discord channel. Don't feel like, I can tell you that I haven't been entering any or much trades at all for the last couple of days. Don't feel like you have to rush into a trade. I think there's a lot more volatility to be had tomorrow, and especially on Friday, especially into next week. So there are opportunities. Don't feel like you're missing out on anything by sitting and not doing anything. If you do need further help, join the Discord session or Discord channel. We'll be there to help you with your trading journey. So for now, trade well, trade safe, and I'll see you all tomorrow, same time, same place on this live stream. Take care now.